can do. Let me introduce my guest once again. On my left, Dr. Alfred Mutua, the governor of Machakos, together the senator of Kiambu, Kimani Wamatangi. On my right, Gladys Wanga, woman rep Homa Bay, and Cleophas Malala, Senator Kakamega. To each of you, welcome to the program. Many thanks for finding time to join us. And Governor, I'll start straight with you on this one. Let's talk about that situation in Laikipia. Seems to be going from bad to worse, and it's been happening since 2013. Governor, what's your take on this? Security forces almost seeming powerless is the feeling of some. What do you make of this?
I think, and thank you very much, and it's good to have you hosting us today.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. I want first to say hello to our viewers and listeners from all over the world. And before I embark on this, I'd like to recognize that we've lost Oriero Gomanduli, one of the really flamboyant and powerful ladies in this country, and may she rest in eternal peace. We worked together during the Kibaki era, and she came out there as a powerful woman, and it's a loss to the country. When you talk about losses and you look at what is happening in Laikipia, we have to ask ourselves what Julius Nyerere used to ask his people of Tanzania. What is the well-being of a country? If Kenya was a person, for example, if Kenya was you, how would you rate Kenya? Would Kenya be healthy? Is Kenya as a person, would be healthy, or would we be in hospital? Would we be in ICU? What is our well-being? And you look at the well-being in terms of everything, put together. And so Nyerere alikuwa anasema unaamka Jumatatu ama unaamka Jumanne, unaangalia hali yako ya afya nchi yako mwenyewe na nchi iko wapi. So the well-being of our country is reflected by what is happening in our country. At this age, in this 21st century, should we have scuffles, tribal scuffles, because that's what they are basically, and displacement that are happening in Laikipia? So when I hear people talk about Laikipia, I'm looking at it from a bigger perspective. It is a failure of us as a people to recognize that we are one country. We have sown the politics of division, uvuku nukwetu kunukwenu, as if anybody sends a postcard to say where they're going to be born and all that. I listened to the speech by my fellow governor of Laikipia, and he's very frustrated. And basically he's telling the national government, basically is arm us, give us the weapons so that we can defend ourselves. When wananchi, when leaders are asking government to give us weapons, it means that they do not even trust that the national government has the powers to come and protect them. And what happens if you don't give them the arms? Then they are going to go to the bush and get into a guerrilla warfare state to save their lives, because we're talking about people who have been killed. The other day people have been killed. So I do agree with Dr. William Ruto that this is an indictment on the security apparatus. There are times we talk too much, and then you ask yourself, we've got a whole battalion of general service unit here in Nairobi. We've got lots of people in barracks, here with guns and all those things. We've got intelligence. Why can't we go and flash these people out and teach them a lesson and tell them, Kenyans, we are one. We are not going to agree to this kind of things. But then at the end of the day, and my brother here will bear with me witness, a lot of these scuffles do not happen just because of neighbor is rising against neighbor. No, there's always political machinations behind it, and political leaders are involved.
And that's, and that's where I want to bring in Gladys Wanga. You've brought us on an interesting tangent. Yesterday we saw two politicians actually arrested. I think they'll be charged in court today. But some are asking, is that enough? Who gains with so much destruction, loss of life, loss of property, the 21st century?
Yeah, well, I think bringing people to book, and I do hope that that is not the end of it, or it's not just theatrics. Bringing people to book, and as Governor is saying, when you look at the kind of weaponry that is being used in these scuffles, then you know that it's not just people rising against each other. It's not just regular common mwananchi rising against each other, like in a normal conflict. This is choreographed, this is planned, this is funded, weapons are given. Because as I had the regional commissioner, Natembea, saying yesterday, the kind of equipment, the kind of guns that these people are having, it's not just something it's not homemade guns, it's not grenades, it's not things that you just pick around. So this is well choreographed, this is well funded, and we must get to the bottom of the matter. And you're asking, is it enough just the arrest of the two politicians, is it enough? And I want to say that I hope it's not, smoke screening or just saying let's bring down some high profile people so that we divert attention. So what I want to say, Wahiga, is I have seen this matter being politicized. I have seen some people saying, coming down on the security agencies and so on, so that it looks like, one wing is supporting and one wing is opposing. This is the kind of place and time that we all come together. And we all call out. We call out every side, not just the security agencies, but also those who are sponsoring and funding this violence. So where the security agencies are pushing enough, we support them. And where we feel they're not doing enough, we urge them to do more. But if we take political sides on a matter like this, a matter where the lives of our people are in danger, then we are not helping the situation.
Okay.
So, and let me also just add on the matter of Orie Rogo and to really give our deepest condolences. I mean, that was flamboyance in life, and it was, she was a trailblazer, and she's one who lived for what she believed, and one day her gear, flew off on the stage at a rally. And she just took it back and put it on, and life went on. So, Orie Rogo, rest well.
Thank you for those kind words. Senator Malala, I'll come to you shortly, but for you, Wamatangi, let me read a quote that was posted yesterday by Gabriel Dolan. He said, #Laikipia, you know that elections are near when clashes escalate. Politicians arrested, but never sentenced.
Yeah.
It seems Kenyans expect, they know what will happen because they've seen the past.
Well, Wahiga, that's factual to a large extent, and as I mourn Orie Rogo Manduli, because as somebody who's stepped in the limelight of this country and having led the stage and mixed glamour and politics and leadership, she stood out, and I think it's important to acknowledge that she lived a chapter that's interesting in this country's leadership, and I also mourn her and wish the family God's blessings and peace. Having said that, Wahiga, what you've said in that tweet is largely true, indeed. The Laikipia situation is a little complex, but that is part of it. That's part of it, because what happens, you will see continuously as we move towards the election, not only in Laikipia, but in most places where this kind of tension exists for long. And you said it well, that this has been there since 2013, indeed earlier. Remember from the time when it was decided that it is useful to arm some sections of communities in those expansive areas. That has happened in Turkana, it has happened in areas in Samburu, it happened in Laikipia, where then at that time, and I think it was an erroneous decision by government, to decide that it is important to arm a certain section, whom they were calling reservists and others, to contain security on their own. And that created a flow of arms, Wahiga, because I've been to that section and I've spoken to many people. And what happens there is some communities, either divisions within clans or tribes, feel that you have armed one section or one part of the tribes, and so they go to Uganda, others go to Ethiopia and Somalia to seek arms themselves. And because of the general terrain there and the expanse, it is easy to hide arms, and that is what has escalated. So in the Laikipia scenario, you have three interesting cases. First, it's the local farmers who are small scale. Secondly, the ranchers, big ranch owners. And thirdly, now the pastoralists. And those are realities that we must embrace and address as Kenyans. Because, you see, fighting and beating in one group will not resolve the situation. Because this is a complex situation. The pastoralists feel like they have a right to live their lifestyle, to go and graze all over. Local farmers feel that they have a right to own a piece of the land, and yet ranchers have got title deeds to do what they do. And so, Wahiga, in my view, first, and I address this from my own personal perspective, because I've thought about it many times when I've driven through Laikipia, all the way if you reach Nanyuki and then towards Meru and the end of that place. Sometimes you want to address yourself and ask, if you look, for example, at the sizes of those ranches, that are still held by many of those ranchers. And what you would call probably oppression of some of the locals, because you find like besides those ranches, somewhere along the roadsides is where majority of the locals live. You know, we find one ranch and then a few shanties around the entrance and some small enclaves of those areas. And you find, you want to ask yourself, is there a better way to address this? Because those people feel that way. Now too, and then you have these guys, and you know that the lifestyle of pastoralists is that they have to go around, they have to graze their cattle. It's the only one thing they know. So how do you balance this? And I believe what we need to do is to apply our minds in the reality and not be either personal or sectional about it. Because I would ask myself, when this happened, for example, remember the Baragoi tragedy and the battle that went on there. And at the end of the day, even if you go today, some sense of security has been restored in Baragoi. But there is still tension. And I believe addressing those issues will not just be a matter of a gun and bullet. So lastly, I would want to comment on what you said about politicians being involved. And this is the final bit that we must address, because most political leaders want to capitalize on this kind of thing, because once you get arrested at this time, for example, if you are there, you're spitting fire and saying all these kind of things. Yes, you go and spend a week or two, but that guy knows that it is most likely that you'll not have to campaign at the end towards the end of the season, because he'll get elected just on the basis that he was arrested fighting for our people. And I think also as political leaders, what we need to do, Wahiga, in my view, is that when you are caught in that kind of mix-up and indeed you're convicted, then the sentence must be equal to the crime.
Okay, yeah. Let me bring it, Senator Mlala, get your thoughts on this, bearing in mind it's not the only place where we have conflict in this country, and I'm sure Kenyans are watching to see how this will be resolved. What's your thoughts on a solution?
Waiga, first of all, I want to join my colleagues in sending my sincere and heartfelt condolences to the family of the late Oria Rogomanduli. She'll be remembered to be a woman who gave the correct demeanor of women in leadership. She fought for space in the leadership space in this country, and I would like to implore the women who are remaining behind. Of course, Honorable Gladys Wanga has tried her best in terms of fighting for space, but the general woman of Kenya should emulate what the likes of Oria Rogomanduli used to do, fighting for space and not just waiting to be spoon-fed. May her soul rest in eternal peace. Having said that, Wahiga, I think the Laikipia skirmishes, we need to really look into the root cause of those skirmishes. As it is right now, we have not really gotten the reason, the causality of the skirmishes. Some are saying that are the semi-nomadic herders targeting the ranch owners. Is this so? Is it the story of the rich versus the poor? Others are saying that it's simply rival communities wanting to eject each other from their land. Others are putting blame on the drought-stricken pastoralists who are seeking pasture. Others are politicizing it into 2022 politics, and therefore I would like to say that the National Intelligence Service has failed us. We need to get the root cause of these skirmishes, because if we don't get the root cause of these skirmishes, then whatever the multi-agency are trying to do in Laikipia will be an exercise in futility. My colleague senator said, arresting politicians sometimes, I think, is a decoy to this, to the main issue. I remember I was among the politicians who were arrested in the Matungu killings, and I can assure you, up to date, we've never been charged in a court of law. I think while they are doing these arrests, they are doing arrests which will please, which has just perception that, come on, you are sorting out this issue, but the root cause of these killings and these skirmishes is not being sorted out.
You said they've never charged you? They
have never charged us because they had no evidence. It was simply politics, because if you saw the arrest, they were trying to arrest one person from the Jubilee side and another person from the NASA side. So it's basically a balance of perception, and therefore I would like to call upon the prosecutory organs to be keen about this issue, because the issues of security are issues that affect our people. Like now, you see schools are closed in Laikipia West and Laikipia North, which is not a good thing. We have candidates who are preparing for exams. Businesses, people are not even staying in their homes. And therefore, this is an issue that needs to be microscopically tackled and not just politicized. So arresting of politicians, to me, is not just is not the problem solver in this matter. They should look at the root cause of this issue, because the conflict is perennial. Every year we have conflicts, community conflicts. We have social conflicts whereby the rich and the poor are fighting over resources, and therefore this is a matter that even the National Cohesion Integration Commission should be looking into. They shouldn't wait and relegate themselves into a commission where they follow politicians and utterances of politicians. No, these are the real issues the National Cohesion and Integration should be looking into.
But no one can deny that politicians play a very key role in peacekeeping, and this is a topic we'll continue to have, a very important one. Let me read one tweet here. Abdirahman Mohammed Ali, you say this morning, Daybreak, no matter what side of the aisle you sit, we need peace for the country to prosper. We have to deal with the mess in Laikipia. Why do we have clashes when elections near? It's now, not tomorrow. Let us deal with any terrorist harshly. This is simply unacceptable. And this is a conversation we will continue to have here on the program. But meanwhile,